Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Walnut, it is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. How are you this week? I hope you are waking up and feeling things and knowing that you are enough just as you are, no matter what you're feeling. Walnut, I'm in a place where I have come out of all of the depressions, all of the Weltschmerzes, all of the heavy, hard things, and I'll share more in different episodes as we go along. But this week, I really wanted to share with you more. I know I talk about this all the time till I'm blue in the face, Walnut, but about duality. I'm sitting here, I just got off of a live interview with Rachel White where we talked all about if you want to be an author and things like that. And I'll get that episode on the podcast as well. But it reminded me of a situation that I was in a couple of weeks ago that I didn't quite share with you, where I was sat in a place of complete polar opposite duality. I got some very, very upsetting news that my friend, my old time school friend, we were besties in high school. We still keep in touch now. My friend, his wife had lost their baby. It was a stillbirth, which was really heavy hitting. And for our little kind of troop of friends that are still in contact, it hit the group pretty heavily. And I assume that you have, Walnut, you're a person that has gone through a little bit of grief. It does bring up past traumas when someone you love is really going through the motions. And anyway, because they live so far up north and all the things and, you know, life, it's not just like when you're young and can just pack your bags and just go and do a thing. Well, you probably could, but in this case, it was not realistic for us that were down here in Wellington. They had their time with the little baby, and then there was a funeral, which was over Zoom. And the most surreal experience, and actually my walnutting that I'm choosing to share this week, because I have never done it before. And I think we're in a time of life now where electronical and digital is the way to communicate the most now. But this was such a surreal feeling on so many different levels, because one, I was at work. I didn't take the day off or anything, so there's that whole other layer of like grieving but not, and really hard to describe, Walnut. So I don't know if you might have to really put your empathy boots on here and try and like pick up what I'm putting down more than usual. But so I was at work. I had booked a meeting room and took doing air quotes, a lunch break. And I couldn't get the link to work on the laptop, so I was literally sat in a meeting room. The lights, if you don't like press them all the time, they like just go dark. So got it to a point where it just went dark and I couldn't be bothered getting up. And I watched a baby funeral on my fucking phone screen at work in the midst of people hustling and bustling and rushing around. In one of those mindsets where, you know, when something terrible and tragic happens, and then someone comes to you with sort of something mindless, like, oh my God, she didn't send me that email in time, or whatever, just seems so irrelevant and seems so mindless. And here I am, I've made this little dark cocoon meeting room to try and be there as physically as I can, with all this bustling of just stimulation. You know, it's like our brains, you know, like all this stuff going on, and I just wanted to be here, like on my little phone. It was so surreal and such a strange feeling. And interestingly how your brain kind of does wander, and I was looking at who else was online and trying to like look, and it wasn't sort of like a Zoom where there was like a camera stand or whatever. It was literally someone holding it so we could be a part of it on their phone as well. So I really wanted to share that experience with you, Walnut, because it was such, that itself was a duality, really holding the space by being far away and holding the space while all the, I want to say chaos, but it's not like it was chaos, but where all of the hustle and bustle just still goes on. Really, really, really weird feeling to kind of be going through, while at the same time, you're still doing life. And I think I kind of expressed this in my group a little bit, because I had just sort of come out of a big Weltschmerz saga, and then I got really hit by a few tragic things. It's like I was on the up of my Weltschmerz, of my melancholy, of my like weird little funk that I was in, and then I got hit with the news of my friend's baby was the first of a couple of things, and I didn't really know where to go, and I kind of went into this like blank state where and I'll talk more about the other situations in more episodes to come as I kind of get my head around what I want to actually say. But I felt like I was just really like I didn't know how I was getting up in the morning. I didn't know, I wasn't depressed. I wasn't like I feel like I was so many things and just blank all at once. I was so tired every single day. I woke up and my eyes would never open properly. I was just thinking in my head, oh my God, how irrelevant is your problem right now, when there's, people I love who are just hurting, when I'm hurting a little bit too. And it just kind of puts you in this whole other perspective. But it's like I just got wiped back into a Weltschmerz, but it was so much more than a Weltschmerz, because in my Weltschmerz saga, there was that kind of aspect of like humanity disappointing me. Whereas this kind of kicked me into, yes, I was being disappointed by the external things, but on the inside, I was like not even ripped open. It's almost like it was like closing up, and it just kind of was like like sucking me down. I can't even describe it, Walnut. But the part about duality that I wanted to share was I was feeling this and still getting up, and it was almost like an autopilot and doing the things. I was smiling, I was working my job, I was still in parallel with this feeling, managing to do life. Similarly, where that same day where I would watch the funeral on Zoom on my phone, and after a funeral, especially with an open heart center, you've got all that kind of energy around you already. I had a podcast scheduled for, the funeral kind of was like a couple of days notice, whatever, and the podcast episode interview, I was being interviewed on a podcast, was scheduled. So I had to, it's not even like transition, but I had to turn on my happiness, because Walnut Wednesday, being here with you and, being interviewed and being able to tell my story with my voice, lights me up, makes me feel good. So it's like I was constantly in between turning each tap on, and it was like, yeah, hot or cold, maybe, I don't know, but one wasn't positive or negative. It was just like leaning into one feeling and then leaning back into the other, and then to another, or at times having both of them at the same time, being equally present. It was just kind of like a total overdrive that I was going to, Walnut, that I was going through, Walnut. So yeah, that's kind of what I really, really felt on my heart to share with you in this moment in time, because I feel like it is relevant. I feel like it is relevant to the time. I feel like the beginning of the year was not only a Weltschmerz saga for me, but I feel like it was a bit of a turning point for not only walnuts in the walnut tree, which is my group on Facebook, but also for just people as a collective. There is a kind of looming exhaustion and burnout that where people have just been keeping on and keeping on and keeping on. That things are just starting to get a little bit tested. And I'm only just noticing now, and I'm recording this in April, that the shift is starting to occur. So it's taken me a good, since January, so 4 months, to come back into a neutral or something. That said, Walnut, I feel like my melancholy is really here to stay. It doesn't feel completely gone. I feel a shift in energy, in external energy, but inside of me, I feel like there is something a lot deeper that is being bubbled up. So I will definitely do another episode that's more focused on the woo-woo and the spiritual snake skin shitty thing that I got going on here, because it is bloody, I don't have a word. It is like watching The Matrix for the first time. It's a bit out there and a bit what the hell in my body, in my spiritual body, in my brain. I can't comprehend and make a word of it. So yeah, we'll talk about that another time, because I think I should disclaimer that that's going to be a little bit esoteric and a little bit crazy. But I wanted to share, Walnut, especially that there is a lot of duality in real life all the time, and we as a societal feel guilt. I remember in the past, especially after the boys died, if I had a moment where I wasn't thinking about them or having a memory of them, recently after they had passed away, I felt guilty for feeling happiness because they weren't there. And I think it reigns true in just everyday life. We do have those moments where it's also someone's feeling sad. I don't want to shine my happiness on them, even though I've had this really good thing happen to me, but that person's sad, so I need to engulf that feeling instead. So the duality and the polarity, I know I talk about this so much, but it kind of just shows that every feeling and every emotion is neutral. Emotion, energy, and motion, right? It's just a thing. It doesn't matter. Sad isn't negative and happy isn't positive. They're just equal things. I don't have a really good analogy in my head, and I'm waving my hands around if you're not watching a little banana. But I hope my sharing this walnutting with you and this heaviness of the Zoom funeral versus coming home with that energy still being held, and then having that excitement of using my voice and talking about Walnut Wednesday. I hope this kind of brings something up in you in some way, Walnut. So let me know if you resonate with this episode. If you're new here, there are so many ways that we can connect, which the number one being here, so thank you for your time and being here, but also my group, the Walnut Tree, on Facebook. There are a couple of questions if you're not in it, so you have to answer the questions for admittance, because I try and keep that space as polished as possible in terms of the energy that's inside it. You can find me on Instagram at Walnut Wednesday. If you enjoy this episode, share and tag me at Walnut Wednesday. So there might be another walnut that's looking around and notices your story and really resonates with this episode as well. I'm a healer. I do Reiki healings. I do mini card readings. I have a book. I'm an author. So many things. I've got a couple of fun little workshops that I've done that you can catch the replay on and do the work with. There's so many ways that we can connect in complete duality. And if you've been following along the walnut journey, hasn't it been a ride? Hasn't it been a ride? But you've that's the thing. you can celebrate and feel like a butthole at the same time. And I stand by it. I've followed through it unintentionally through my journey, and it's only proving now that duality is such a fucking pillar to Walnut Wednesday and to just being a walnut in general. Once you can accept that and know that, everything else becomes so clear. So I challenge you, Walnut, to give yourself that permission today, especially if you woke up feeling like a butthole. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with if you feel like a butthole for 1 second and then sunshine and rainbows the next. So yeah, that's my episode this week. I hope you have a happy Walnut Wednesday. And if you're not having a happy Walnut Wednesday, I hope you're just having a Walnut Wednesday, and know that you are beautiful, you are brave, you are sexy, and you are a delicious, wonderful walnut. Happy Walnut Wednesday, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.